First, sorry if my face gets dark. I'm trying to use one of my wife's canvases to block the light, and it looks like it's helping. Once again, really cool chapter. I think we seldom think about what we're doing non-verbally when we're communicating, right? I don't think it's something that is going through your mind. I also have somebody doing yard work at our apartment, so this may be a longer video just so I can pause when I need to and get things out. With a lot of these things, like at the beginning of the chapter, it talks about different characteristics of nonverbal communication and things that it can do, how it's culturally based, it's ambiguous, like those things. But then also it talks about how it can also form universal language. It can lead to misunderstandings. I actually talk about misunderstandings in my application because I found that the inability or the lack of nonverbal communication can also lead to misunderstandings, right? There are certain times you're communicating or having a conversation where nonverbal communication is the key to finishing that conversation, right? Or getting to the point of that conversation. So really cool stuff to open up the chapter. I'm practicing, I'm in my intro to public speaking class, and this chapter is helping me with my practice for my intro speech a lot, because I did my first video and I watched it back and I was like, wow, you just look dead. Like I've got to be more in tune with what's happening in front of me and pretend and actually feel like there's people in front of me that I'm talking to. And that's kind of what I'm struggling with, is feeling like I am communicating with somebody. And so I've also found that it can be difficult to make sure that you are nonverbally communicating or nonverbally communicating effectively if you're not seeing somebody else's reaction to your communication, right? I think a lot of nonverbal communication is reaction, right? Or you're hearing somebody speak expressively or be expressive with their hands, and in turn you start doing it because you're like, oh, this is how this person, and so you start to communicate the way that they are communicating with you. I think a lot of that is, right, it talks about how it is, what's the word I'm looking for at the beginning of the chapter? Omnipresent, right? It's always there, whether we're doing it or not, and also that part of our mind that is saying, oh, this person's speaking this way, maybe it'll be helpful for them if I start speaking that way as well. What else do I want to touch on in here? I was going to touch on something from the discussion. Let me pull that up. Oh, we talked about how our communication changed during the, I was just in there, I don't know why. We talked about how our communication changed during the pandemic. I think that the pandemic altered my communication skills, my nonverbal communication skills forever, right? Because I got so much better at seeing emotion just through people's eyes and understanding what they were feeling or trying to communicate without having to see their face. I worked at a service desk, and so like working as a service worker, de-escalation is like half of my job, right? Just making sure people are happy and treated well. And so I have to be able to read emotion and de-escalate before it even gets escalated at all, right? My goal is for that to never get to that point. So how can I keep it here without having to ask verbally what they need, right? How can I work that out without having to put it on them? And so I think it altered my ability to read nonverbal communication forever, right? I can tell when somebody's not interested in the conversation we're having. I can tell when somebody is waiting to interject a point. Those things have changed forever, and I mean, for better or for worse, right? I also think there's part of my communication that was altered in the wrong way, right? I think I'm much better at communicating online than I am communicating in person, right? I think it's because when you are stuck in your home communicating online for so long, you become less scared of saying things that will hurt somebody's feelings. I'm not talking about bullying somebody. I'm saying hard truths, of communicating hard truths. And so then when you're in front of somebody and you want to communicate those same hard truths to them, it is really difficult. Anyway, this is a really long video. I'm going to cut it now, but really cool chapter.